You've likely met someone who slowly disappears from everybody's life. They stop replying, avoid calls, distance themselves, and eventually cut almost all their social circle off. From an outsider's point of view, this behavior can seem incredibly cold and selfish. The psychology behind it, however, is somewhat more nuanced. The decision to cut people off often starts as a simple feeling, a subtle and persistent sense of emotional drain. Those conversations that were previously energizing now start to become exhausting. Relationships that seemed positive seem to sour and are no longer uplifting. Over time, the brain begins to associate a feeling of being ill at ease with these people. Here's where something important happens. At this point, the mind starts shifting into its protective mode. Rather than asking, "How can I fix these relationships?" it instead resorts to, "How am I able to escape this feeling?" The logical answer becomes escapism from society or those people causing this stress. Many who cut others off aren't necessarily intentionally trying to hurt them. Rather, it's a matter of self-regulation. It's the nervous system looking for reprieve from stressful situations, as a result of the inability to cope with them for extended periods of time. The only place where these individuals can often seem to find solace is in their own company. Emotional boundaries are also a strong factor here. These individuals often grew up in environments where the boundaries they set were ignored or ridiculed. Now, as adults, they no longer set these seemingly insignificant boundaries. Rather, they resort to the other extreme where their default setting is to say no to everybody. While this feels safe, it's often an unhealthy reaction to these stressors. Pattern recognition is also at play here. People observe recurring behaviors in others, such as misunderstanding, disappointment, and rivalry. This can be too much for the brain to cope with, too complicated. It then puts all relationships in the same basket, believing that the outcome will always be the same. So you see, avoidance of these situations seems more logical than taking the risk again. Cognitive bias is also a strong factor here. Having been subject to a number of negative experiences, the brain realizes that those can outweigh the benefits of the positive ones. And the mind starts filtering and looking for excuses for this belief to be true. It can convince the affected individual that being around others is draining, that people are largely unreliable, and start finding evidence to support this belief. And let's not forget self-identity. Sometimes these individuals view themselves as an island, independent, autonomous, and stronger when alone. This sense of control gives them a feeling of empowerment. For them, this is a risk-free way of living, free from demands, expectations, and overall risk. Solitude versus isolation. What's the difference? Solitude is sometimes necessary to free the mind of excessive external stimuli that can overwhelm the brain. Isolation, conversely, denotes escapism from society. It is harmful in that it cuts ties from the support and emotional growth that comes from a true connection with others. It's worth noting that people who cut everybody off are often very much sensitive and aware. They detect patterns of behavior such as ulterior motives and emotional changes in those around them. While this is overwhelming to them, it can also be viewed as a strength on their part. This is why distancing themselves seems like the easier path. Their trust in others has eroded. There's also an element of control at play here. Because there's an element of unpredictability in relationships, removing others seems like the safe choice. Relationships, by definition, involve others' own emotions and reactions, which aren't always desirable. In order to attain a controlled environment free from the unexpected, these individuals choose to resort to isolation. But there's a paradox. This same so-called protective mechanism, albeit being useful in the short term, is incredibly limiting in the longer term. Every human has at their core a need for connection with others, no matter how independent they may think they are. Neglecting these connections can cause significant problems, and mental health will suffer as loneliness takes its toll. So apparently rejecting others may in fact be a form of self-preservation for the affected individual. It's oftentimes their coping mechanism, so to speak, versus harboring resentment and a dislike of others' company. The key word here is intention. Is this a temporary measure, and are they intending to rebuild stronger and healthier connections later? Or is this an indefinite state where others are shut off completely? Remember this: genuine connections lead to growth. Isolation leads to disconnection. And that is what many never see.